find me on the internet. My comment section all woke Karens. And I make racks off compound interest. Y'all live with your parents. It's a really well thought out show. Alrighty, folks, it is a Friday, so it's time for a cultural recommendation. So I have recommended the show Severance on Apple TV before. It is great. It is a truly terrific show. It's fascinating. It's interesting. It raises really interesting philosophical questions about identity, work-life balance, relationships. It really is a fascinating show. So the season finale is out on Friday. I had a chance to watch it. And I will say, again, really well-constructed show. It is doing the thing that Lost never did, which is answer the questions that it actually poses, which is wonderful. So I was a huge Lost fan. For people who remember back to 2007, 2008, Lost was a huge show on ABC. A fascinating show that posited a bunch of mysteries and then refused to answer any of them and suggested you were an idiot if you wanted to know the answers, which is why Damon Lindelof, who wrote the show, is a schmuck. I'm still angry at Damon Lindelof. Here's an entire show filled with interesting mysteries, and you have faith in the writers are going to solve them. And then he says at the end of the show that if you want those mysteries answered, well, you're just not mature. So, well, then don't pose the mystery. I get it. Life is a mystery, but TV ought not be. So Severance is doing the opposite. Severance sets up a bunch of mysteries, and then it actually starts solving those mysteries. So for those who haven't watched Severance, there will be spoilers. The setup for Severance is essentially that there is a process that has been invented by a company called Lumen Industries. And Lumen Industries has made it so that you can sever your brain in such a way that your work life is completely separate from the rest of your life. So you lead your life and then you get in an elevator, and as you go down the elevator, your brain actually changes. When you get off the elevator in your workplace, you don't know who you are, you don't know where you are, you just have your work life. And the purpose of this would be that when you get home, you're not thinking about work. And when you're at work, you're not thinking about home. And so it's for people who have trauma and they're trying to dissociate from that trauma and all of the rest. And so immediately you've set up some interesting sort of spiritual and identity-based conundrums. Like, for example, if you have a completely separate identity when you go to your work life, a completely separate love life, because you might fall in love with a coworker because you don't even remember that you have a wife upstairs, for example. If you do that, is that a separate human? And if that person goes away, did you just kill a person? Right? It's these sorts of questions that Severance is asking. What is the nature of identity? Is there a common thread between the different parts of your identity that holds them together? And it's wrapped into a really compelling plot with really likable and interesting characters and terrific writing. It's super weird and super interesting. So in the season 2 finale, the setup is that the main character, played by Adam Scott, is Mark Scout. When he goes into his innie world, which is sort of the employment world, then he's known as Mark S. And he falls in love in the innie world with a woman who is not his wife. His wife supposedly died, but actually has been taken prisoner by Lumen and is being used in experiments, as it turns out. And he doesn't realize when he's in the innie world that he actually has a wife. So he falls in love with a coworker who, it turns out, is working for the company in her outie life. Right? If the outie life is what's happening outside the workplace, the innie life is what's happening inside the workplace. And so Mark S. finally breaks the barrier. The course of season 2 is about him sort of introducing his innie to his outie and trying to find what is the connection between them and what their various interests are. Because it turns out that Mark Scout's wife is alive, and so his interest is in getting his innie to go and free his wife, and then for him to basically turn back into Mark Scout as opposed to his innie, and then he and his wife can be together. And meanwhile, the innie is saying, well, I have my own separate life down here. And sure, it's kind of hellish because we live in this cubicled office space, but I have a love life, I have somebody I love, I have friends, so you're asking me to give up my life to you. And so that's the central conflict of season 2. It's really well thought out. The characters are really fascinating, all the way down to the certain characters who are sort of the indoctrinated parts of the Egan Empire, which is Lumen Industries. Particularly the guy who plays Mr. Milchick is really a terrific actor. He's really great. It's a really well thought out show. The season finale really pays off. And again, I won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it because it's still pretty early. It only came out late Thursday night on Apple TV, so a lot of people are going to watch it tonight, presumably. I will say that it pays off. For those who've been watching, the show's great. More of this, more creative shows. And there's so many paint-by-numbers pieces of content right now. And good for Ben Stiller and for his team for putting together a piece of content that truly is interesting, asks cool questions, is well plotted, is well written, truly well acted. I think it's the best TV show of the last several years. I mean, minimum. By the time it's over, if it continues to operate at this level, it's going to be one of the top 5 TV shows of all time. It really is that good. Severance is terrific. If you haven't seen it, you should get into it today. I will admit that I watched the first season thinking my wife wouldn't like it. And then like various travels last year. And then this year I said, season 2's coming out. Maybe we should go back and watch season 1. And after watching it, she's very angry at me that I didn't wait for her to watch season 1. And so now she's all caught up. It's great. Can't wait for season 3 on it. We'll get to more on this in a moment. First, let's talk about something that affects millions of Americans every single day: debt. It's rough watching your hard-earned money go straight to paying off credit cards and loans, feeling like you're just treading water. That's why I need to tell you about PDS debt. PDS debt is different from other debt solutions. They actually take the time to understand your specific situation, and they create a personalized plan that works for you. Whether you're dealing with credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills, they've got options. What's really great about them is there is no minimum credit score required. PDS debt strives to understand your specific scenario, and they can help provide alternative solutions to becoming debt-free. They'll help you save more and pay off your debt faster so you can finally start building that savings account. Getting started is simple. Go to pdsdebt.com/Shapiro, complete your free debt assessment, see what options are available to you. Every day you wait, it's costing you money. Get started with your free debt analysis in just 30 seconds at pdsdebt.com/Shapiro. That's pdsdebt.com/Shapiro. Take back control today. Visit pdsdebt.com/Shapiro. Debt can be just a massive drag on your entire life. Get the problem solved. Head on over to pdsdebt.com/Shapiro. That's pdsdebt.com/Shapiro. Other bizarre things happening along these lines. Mattel has now put out a new doll. So apparently they have something called the Monster High series, where they make kind of monster Halloween dolls. And they are Barbie-fying a creature from Philippine folklore, according to the Straits Times, that has for centuries inspired terror and loathing among Filipinos for its bizarre habit of feeding on the hearts of the unborn children. So they made a doll of the Manananggal. I'm going to totally botch, obviously, the pronunciation there. Corazon Marikit is the latest to come out of Mattel Monster High doll line. Now, a creature that eats baby hearts is a winsome teenager dressed in the traditional Filipino attire and a long skirt that tapers into thin red fringes that are supposed to emulate dripping blood. Sounds awesome. Apparently, this brings Filipino fashion and folklore to life. Yes, a doll for kids based on a character that eats the hearts of fetuses. Sounds awesome. Yeah. How wonderful. You couldn't just make a Filipino doll. You had to make one based on a character that eats babies. Cool stuff. Meanwhile, Snow White is now in theaters.
No, God, please, no!
It is going to perform okay because there are not a lot of G-rated films in theaters right now, and Disney has made a habit of cannibalizing its IP in favor of much worse versions of that same IP. When I say much worse versions, I mean this. So, the original Snow White featured a terrific song by a composer named Frank Churchill, who wrote all the music for, or most of it, for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Dumbo, Bambi, Peter Pan. And if you are at all conversant in American culture, you of course know the song Someday My Prince Will Come, right? Because the entire story of Snow White is that someday her prince does come and then wakes her up, right, with a kiss. Well, they changed the whole story of Snow White in the movie. And so they got rid of this song. Here's the original song, Someday My Prince Will Come, and then we'll play what it was replaced with. I mean, back when movies were charming. I mean, how do you not have nostalgia for this original movie? It's great.
Mush.
Okay, so I don't have to play the rest of the song. You know this song. Everyone knows this song, right? So they cut that song in favor of this Pop Pap by Pasek and Paul. Probably the most overrated composing duo of the modern age. They did Dear Evan Hansen, Pasek and Paul, and they substituted instead of Someday My Prince Will Come, because you can't have that. It's not woke enough. Right? You can't have a young woman dreaming that one day her prince will come, like all the women typically do, or like many, like the vast majority of women across the history of humankind typically do. No, instead you have to have basically a very weak version of a Lin-Manuel Miranda Moana song.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo. Your voice will carry through can bring that dream to you, just like an echo, echo, echo. Well,
It's about women
I can
empowerment,
hear
right? It's your
the
echo.
loud and clear, but I'm still
So boring.
waiting.
Oh. So, from Someday My Prince Will Come, an iconic tune, to a... Now, I challenge you, sing it. What she just sang? Sing it over again. Can you? The answer is no, because it's utterly unmemorable. It is complete... It is just drivel. It is elevator music pop. And it's the same thing that Pasek and Paul do in like half their songs, which is they pick one word and then they just hone in on that one word, and then they use it over and over again. This is like one of the staples of Dear Evan Hansen. Right? In For Forever, they just repeat the phrase for forever like 1,000 times.
For forever, for forever, for forever, for forever.
Or Waving Through a Window, same exact thing. Just repeat the phrase 1,000 times until they drill it into your brain like a woodpecker. And so that's where, this is without me even critiquing the actual film. Now, again, they changed the plot of the film apparently. So the plot of the film is now about how she has to lead a rebellion against the queen. Yeah, shocker. They can't have the prince come and save her. In fact, there is no prince in this version of Snow White. Yes, they changed the plot. It turns out that the prince, instead of being a prince, is in fact a peasant who's going to help her lead a revolt. Mm-hmm. Hey, look, the same story over and over again. You mean it's the same, that basically we're going to subvert all of the basic storytelling norms in favor of the same story over and over again about female empowerment and how women can be their own saviors and men never need to save them? Wow, can't believe... It's tiresome. How many times can they make the same movie over and over again? I mean, I guess as many times as they can write the same song over and over and over again. Well, that's all for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. Be sure to check out all of the other great content on my channel. I'll see you here next time.